Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bob Pompiani at Heinz Field. We welcome all of our viewers on Pittsburgh CW and around the world on the Steeler digital platforms. This is the Mike Tomlin press conference as the Steelers now, after winning for the 10th straight time, will try to go for 11. It's on Thanksgiving night right here against the Baltimore Ravens, who are coming off an overtime loss to Tennessee yesterday at home. So they are 6-4, and they've fallen behind the Cleveland Browns in the division race. The Steelers want to be perfect. They were really good yesterday on the road, taking care of business against Jacksonville. A slow start, but they win 27-3, and so 10-0 with the chance of getting to 11-0 on a short week. But that's followed by what looks like a mini bye week, and certainly something I'm sure this team could use at this point. We are going to go over now to the Southside head coach. Mike Tomlin is ready to roll with his press conference.
Good afternoon. I'll start quickly with a synopsis of yesterday's performance and talk about player availability, and then get into the Baltimore Ravens. First, in regards to yesterday, I like the efforts of the group. Many of the things that we talked about being significant in terms of determining the outcome of the game, we were able to get done. We needed to have an upswing in our run game. I thought we did that. Not to be confused with a finished product. We still have a ways to go there, but there were some tremendous improvements in that area. And it's reasonable to expect it to continue in the subsequent weeks as we focus on that as an area of needed improvement. I thought we were able to possess the ball. Time of possession is big, and we were able to do that and win some short yardage circumstances that allowed us to maintain possession of the ball. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and we were able to do those via the run. Those things don't necessarily turn up in terms of time of possession, but the extension of drives, the maintaining the possession of the ball on 1-yard runs, 1.5-yard runs are significant. We had a goal line run for a touchdown. Benny Snell was significant in the two things I just mentioned, short yardage and goal line. I like his contributions. In the special teams game, we talked openly last week that a group in their position usually works extremely hard to gain a possession. We'd experienced some of that in recent weeks. Dallas threw a ball back across the field on us on a punt return, for example. We saw a fake punt against Cincinnati. They tried an onside kick at the early stages. Can't say enough about the efforts and the performance of Marcus Allen and warding that off and really kind of setting the stage for us in terms of letting it be known that we weren't having those type of activities on that day. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we did what we were supposed to do in terms of making it a tough day for a young quarterback and capitalizing on some of his mistakes and catching the ball when given an opportunity. We still left some out there. But to walk out of a stadium with 4 interceptions, we don't take that lightly. We're pleased with the contributions in that regard. And so those are the reasons why we're able to be successful. We experienced a few bumps and bruises along the way. Zach Gentry has a significant knee injury. Still waiting on clarification in terms of what that means. Safe to say he will not be available this week. Some other guys who went down in game and were able to come back or were in position to come back, whether or not we chose to bring them back or not, or Joe Hayden and Juju Smith-Schuster. We'll let their availability during the course of the week be our guide in terms of their game availability. We don't have a lot of physical work ahead of us this week. Wednesday is a significant day, and so Wednesday's a significant day for guys that fall into that category in terms of the bumps and bruises associated with play. We had a number of guys who missed the game with pre-existing injury. Guys like Trey Edmonds and guys like Jalen Samuels. I don't know their status as I sit here today. I'm sure we'll provide some clarity for you guys tomorrow as we get into our work week, if you will. Now, talking about the Ravens, we're familiar with them. They're familiar with us, and I think that's what makes the series such a challenging one and such an exciting one for the fans. There are a few subtle changes since the last time we played them that are worth mentioning that has our attention and preparation. I think the most significant one is the evolution of J.K. Dobbins in terms of their division of labor. It's obvious that he is their featured runner now, and so there's some things to combat in regards to that. His run style is a little bit different than Ingram. He has more of a perimeter game, at least in terms of their use of him. He's got some breakaway speed that needs to be contended with. He had a significant game against us last time. It's appropriate that we respond and work to minimize his impact on the game. some of the things are very much still the same. You still have Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson related issues. You still have Andrews related issues in terms of him being a central figure in terms of targets, situational targets, third down, red zone, and others. You have Des Bryant, who's been elevated from practice squad. That's a savvy veteran player and big time competitor. They got his feet wet a week ago. It's reasonable to expect his role to maybe continually expand within what they do. And so we got to potentially forecast that and work to minimize that where it's significant, probably on possession downs. On the defensive side of the ball, you know, they're playing a few more people up front like us, and like a lot of people, they've had some injuries, particularly up front that's affected availability, but they've got quality depth. You know, the first time we were getting ready to plan, we didn't see a lot of Derek Wolfe. He was dealing with injury at that time. Now he's back, and Calais Campbell has missed a block of games, if you will. Neither here nor there. They're a formidable front and a formidable defense. They've got top flight defenders on every level. They're going to challenge us. We can't be as slow in terms of getting started offensively as we were the last time. We were able to be within striking distance last time we played those guys because of the turnover game. Robert Spillane had a pick six. Bud Dupree had a sack fumble in the red zone that potentially was a significant point swing. You just can't assume that you're going to get turnovers in bunches the way we were the last time. So we got to anticipate having to be better in all areas as we work this week. And so for those reasons, we're prepared with an edge. It's an honor for us to entertain our fans and entertain fans in general on Thursday Night Football and on Thanksgiving. That's not something that we take for granted. As a young guy that loved football, man, I grew up watching football on the holidays, and really it's an honor and it's humbling to provide that for others and to be associated with that and the memories that it creates. So those things being said, we're working fast this week, and I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Joe Rutter.
Mike, as you've been doing this, have you found a way that you think that works best with dealing with these short weeks?
You know, I think every group is different, and by that I mean specifically the overall health of your group as you go into the week, and where it is in your calendar are probably the two most significant variables in terms of determining what the week looks like. I have been at the job long enough where, you know, I got a pretty good feel of what direction it needs to go, but those are two critical components that you hold those cards and you weigh the significance of those things specific to the group.
Brooke Pryor.
Yeah, Mike, how or in what ways is Ben Roethlisberger the most valuable to this year's team?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You broke up a little bit.
Sorry, how and in what ways is Ben Roethlisberger the most valuable specifically to this year's team?
You know, I think he's still writing that script. I think one of the things that's been really impressive about him and his performance and his interactions with the group is the amount of patience he's shown in terms of the development of our young receiving core, and how diligent he's been in terms of working with them and working as part of the group to help them develop individually and collectively. Yesterday was Juju's birthday. He's the Grizzly veteran of the group. He's 24 years old, so that tells you about where the group is. And I just can't say enough about the efforts of Ben in terms of working with them day in and day out and cultivating the type of cohesion that's required for us to be successful.
Mike Pursuta.
Like you said, you can't assume turnovers, but you guys get your share usually, and you've turned over Jackson a couple of times in both of your meetings. What's worked against him?
Just effort. You know, you better get multiple people running hard and playing with great urgency and energy when you combating people with unique talents, and he is that. And I think that, you know, that's where it starts for us.
Jim Coley.
Yeah, Mike, I wanted to ask a little bit more about that onside kick. Was that something you guys had scouted, or was that just a confident, aggressive play by Marcus Allen?
That's something that we work every single week as just part of our kickoff return business. You know, you got to be ready at all times. Part of us being good at what we do, and us meaning coaches, is eliminating problems before they happen. And Danny Smith is very diligent about working certain aspects of play in that phase, and surprise onside is one of them. It's almost just simply part of our daily routine, so it's not a lot to speak of, to be honest with you.
Chris Carter.
Mike, you talked about the cohesion of your receivers. You've got three of your top guys in Chase, Deontay, and Juju, who are all within 25 receiving yards of each other. You've coached some impressive receiving groups over the years. What can you say about this group and how young they are and how they've been able to perform?
You know, they're developing every week, and you know, in an effort to establish themselves from a historical perspective, you know, those significant challenges lie ahead as you get into playoff races and in the playoffs themselves. I think that's when you really stake a claim on historical positioning and things of that nature. I like the group. I like their talents. I like their selflessness. I like their work day to day. But they're very much writing their stories from a historical perspective.
Ray Fittipaldo.
Mike, what's going on with Vance McDonald this week? And if he can't go Thursday night, is Kevin Rader or someone else a possibility to come up from the practice squad?
Vance is scheduled to work tomorrow. He's been cleared to come back. We're going to let the quality of his participation and how he responds to that work be our guide in terms of determining his availability and all the other dominoes that you mentioned.
Noah Strackney.
Hey, Mike, how satisfied were you with your run defense yesterday? And did you see a swing back in the right direction in that department?
You know, we had our moments, but we also had some moments that weren't up to snuff. You know, it's just, you know, something that you got to continually tool and retool. And a lot of that has to do with player availability. We make no secret about the significance of Tyson Alualu. And, you know, if you're witnessing any upswing in our run defense, it's probably got to do with the return of Tyson to our lineup.
Albie Oxenrider.
Hey, Mike. You were talking at the end of your opening statement about playing on Thanksgiving and giving memories and the fact that you were honored to play on Thanksgiving. Following up on that, in this year where so many people have had challenges and so much confusion and so much not normal, what will it mean to be able to give them something normal? And also, as a follow-up to that, in prime time, not just on Thanksgiving, but in prime time when everybody can kind of sit back and take in the whole day.
You know, there's scarcity in these opportunities. You know, when the schedule comes out, I view it as such and treat it as such. When you get an opportunity to play on prime time, that means something in our league. You get an opportunity to be featured on a holiday game. That's special. I agree with you, and that's what I was referring to when I said that it's an honor and a privilege to be able to entertain our fans in that way. It has been a challenging year. I hope in some small way for a few hours that we can provide the type of entertainment that allows them to forget about it to a degree and do so with loved ones and in a festive atmosphere. I think that's something that we all can relate to and appreciate.
Thank you.
And Ben.
Mike, aside from Dobbins, who you referenced earlier, emerging here in recent weeks, what, if anything, did you learn about the Baltimore rush attack last time out? What sort of themes and messages can you give to your defense to counter it, especially with him being woven into the mix here?
You know, I don't know that there are any schematic differences, but his talents probably make the same plays somewhat different. You know, he's a guy that has some lateral abilities. He's a guy that has some home run abilities. He's a guy that, you know, has some make you miss abilities. And so that makes him somewhat of a different animal than Ingram and Edwards, who are more deliberate downhill runners.
Didi Kinkabala.
The messaging from your players about your record and being undefeated has been unbelievably consistent in talking about purpose and what the goal is and et cetera, et cetera. Do you feel that your players are taking your messaging any better than usual? Does that actually stem from veteran players? What's the process to get to that point that we're kind of hearing the same thing?
I'm not analyzing it in that way. You know, I'm giving them what they need from an information standpoint to meet the challenges. They're expected to adhere to it and believe it and make it real. And that's what they do.
Chris Carter.
Mike, you had both your safeties each get 2 interceptions this week, but you guys have used them to disguise a lot. Terrell Edmonds and Minka Fitzpatrick setting up one thing and doing another. What can you say about them adding to what you guys do as a whole on defense with all the different disguises?
They're talented young players. We ask them to do a lot. They work extremely hard. They're really detailed, both guys. I'm just happy for both guys and that they're getting recognition that they deserve, particularly with Evans. He does a lot of dirty work as a strong safety. He's in the box a lot and fitting in the run game and has done an awesome job of that. But also he has some challenging coverage responsibilities. Oftentimes when we bring our nickelback position, Mike Hilton and others who get a chance to blitz, he's oftentimes matched up on slot receivers. So, stats don't necessarily tell the story of his contributions. We love the tandem. They're quality players, quality young players, and there's significant reasons why we're having the success that we're having.
Fryer?
And Mike, a couple of weeks ago, Cam Hayward said it almost feels like you guys are playing for a college football playoff berth, just with the pressure of remaining undefeated. How do you keep the guys focused on the postseason goals in the future versus the immediate stress of the season?
Cam's just giving you what you want. He doesn't believe that. We live week to week. We got challenges this week as it pertains to playing the Ravens. We just need to go 1-0 this week. We don't bear any burden, if you will, or worry about cumulative records or what lies ahead. We're a group that lives 1 week at a time. We're singularly professionally focused, and that's where we are.
Jim Colony?
And Mike, actually earlier, Eric Ebron gave us what we wanted. He, had a delightful Zoom. Seems like he's the happiest guy in America. Did you know you guys were getting such a big personality along with a guy that was going to catch touchdowns for you?
I did. It's no secret. The zest for life that Eric has and the energy that he brings to play and the fact that it's a daily occurrence with him. I think anybody in our business that studies personnel and knows the league knows that about him. And that was one of the things, to be quite honest with you, that was attractive for us. Not only his playmaking ability, but the energy that he brings to daily tasks.
Todd Miller?
Coach, what is the most challenging thing about facing a desperate rival team for the second time in a month?
I don't know. We're desperate too. We're all desperate to win this week. I'd imagine they view us in the same way, or I'd imagine it would behoove them to do so. That's our attitude each and every week. We respect everyone and respect the level of desperation that everyone has and the urgency that everyone has, and we step into the stadium ready to match it.
Didi Kinkabala?
What is it about them? What is it about this rivalry that the records get thrown out, that the way they've played the last 2 weeks, the way you've played the last 2 weeks, why do they bring something out of your club, your organization, you?
I think you can say the same about all our division games, to be honest with you. I felt in a similar way as we were getting prepared to play Cincinnati. I felt in a similar way as we were getting prepared to play Cleveland. That's one of the things that we desire to be a part of here, is the division rivalry aspect of it. We want to be the team that everybody in our division points at and circles on their calendar. We understand that there's issues associated with being that group, but we don't want to run away from it. We want to run to it. And so this week it's the Baltimore Ravens. But in past weeks, it's been the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. We just want to be in the discussion. If it's in the AFC North and it's hot, we want the Pittsburgh Steelers to be a part of the discussion.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin's press conference on a Monday, not a Tuesday. Of course, it's a very short week, and he's used to this after being here for 14 seasons. So get his team ready for the Baltimore Ravens in what should be a classic matchup of this rivalry on Thursday night in front of a holiday crowd at home, not necessarily here. And it's a shame, that part of it, because normally there'll be 68,000 people in a festive atmosphere here, a loud atmosphere. But the Steelers still, as he said, are desperate to match the Ravens' desperation. And why not? The Kansas City Chiefs continue to win, and that pushes the Steelers as they are 10-0 and you can't let a couple of wins slip away because all of a sudden that number 1 seed that comes with a bye and the only bye available could be lost. And that's why the Steelers are desperate this week. Coach Tomlin did talk about injury situations, and as far as that is concerned, we know that Juju Smith-Schuster and Joe Hayden will give it a go at practice. No specifics there, but we'll find out about them. One thing we do know is Zach Gentry has a significant knee injury, so it looks like he is going to be done longer term. But the good news, Vance McDonald has been cleared to return, so he will practice this week, and we'll see what happens on Thursday night. But in the meantime, it's a big game for the Ravens, who are now 6-4 in third place in the division. It's a big game for the Steelers, who need to keep on winning. We'll have plenty more coming up this week. The Mike Tomlin Show, which normally airs Saturday night, 11:35 on KDKA, will air this Wednesday night now at 11 o'clock right here on Pittsburgh CW as we get you set for that game on Thursday against Baltimore. But that's going to do it for us. We'll have more on all the Steeler activities coming up tonight on KDKA TV News at 5 and 6. And join us again on Wednesday night at 11 right here for the Mike Tomlin Show on Pittsburgh CW. Thanks to those of you watching here locally and also around the world on the Steeler media and digital platforms. We appreciate that, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the Mike Tomlin Press Conference. Happy Thanksgiving from all of us here, not only at the Steelers, but KDKA as well. Hope you have a great week.